been seeing or assisting this family, and then describe a situation, but
Okay.
don't give any remarks about, okay.
Okay, okay. So, visiting mom, has 3 children, has 2 separate visits, one with 2 children and one with...
Can everyone hear Vicki?
No.
Vicki, please speak louder.
Up. Please.
Like I'm yelling.
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay. Visiting mom has 3 children. She has 2 separate visits because there are 2 separate fathers. One father has 2 children with mom, and there is another child, one child with another dad and mom. So the one child comes in to see mom for the first time. Now I've seen them for 6 months. And the child comes in to see mom for the first time, and the child cries. And mom cries and hugs the child. And now for 6 months, things have gotten better with the child, you know, conversation-wise, and mom, and what your day has been like, what are you doing in school, because she's school age, she's in 1st grade, and that's about it, right? I mean, you want me to describe any more?
and describe a situation of behavior,
Okay,
but don't tell us how you resolved any situation. Just describe a unique part of a situation that was frustrating, challenging, or fearful, or anxious, or problematic.
with
Just
either,
describe it, but don't say what the challenge was or how you resolved it.
okay, so either with mom or child, it doesn't matter. Okay. Mom just recently cried at the end of the visit when her daughter left. Now, over the course of the 6 months, they've been seeing each other, and at the end of the visit when the child left, the mom started crying.
Okay. Thank you, Vicki.
That's it.
What, if any, may have been the challenges challenge that you heard, Vicki, just disclose in any of the case?
The separation from dad to mom for the visitation, and where the child cried in the beginning.
With a particular child, youngest?
Oldest.
The oldest child.
The oldest child.
Yeah, the oldest child.
The oldest child has.
She's 7 now.
The oldest child is the different dad.
Right,
Okay.
yes. 2 separate daddies. One child with
So
one
the
daddy
younger
and
two
2
have
children with the other
The
daddy.
oldest child is
Atherton, and the 2 younger is Ford.
Pardon me.
So through the course of the 6 months, okay, they've been to court. Now, the 2 children from a dad. Now, mom has 3 hours of visitation at her house since they've been to court. Now, the 7-year-old from a different dad still has to have supervised visitation. And the last visit that we had, mom started crying when the child left, the oldest child left, after the visitation. After I came back from walking the child out to dad. I came back in and mom sat down and she started crying.
So then, what's the issue, if any issue? Judy?
Well, it seems like there's a difference between the other two and then this one, and she can see them more, and this one she can't see anymore for some reason, so that she's upset about it.
So we asked, why was the child removed? Why is she having visitations? Dad has custody? Dad is custodial? Yeah.
They're just gonna use names.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
just-
I'm not saying any names. Okay, allegedly, and I always say allegedly because we don't know.
Right.
We don't know the truth. I mean,
Right.
Everything is.
mom, dad could say anything they want to, and so anyway, allegedly, the dads think that, mom's been on drugs. Well, true or not,
That mom's been what, I'm sorry?
on drugs, before the children were taken away. Which caused her to
the
have
children
supervised
to
visitation.
be taken away.
Right. So, since they've been back to court, the two youngest children have, they get to have visitation at her house for 3 hours a week. Unsupervised at her house.
Okay,
But the oldest child still has to have supervised visitation 1 hour a week. So,
okay, so here, I'm going to interrupt because we're limited to
over.
time for each presentation, but but as Vicki had described, there's a separation of the oldest child from the dad. The oldest child was returned from the mother's visitation session to the child. The child cried, the mother cried. They've had 6 months of visitation. So what's the problem?
You're not, you have to ask. Why are you crying? What's the matter?
Well,
What is
because-
what happened?
And if the mother is crying and you're left here with the mother, what is your challenge as a visitation monitor, as a family monitor?
so can I say what I did?
No, I want to, not yet, thank you. I want to ask, from yourselves, what do you see as the problem? Judy said, well, you got to find out why the child was crying, but the child is crying.
No, why
Okay,
the
but
mom-
the child is left. If you were the therapist before the child left, you would want to stop the child from crying, you'd want to do some intervention. Here, the mother is left crying, so what would you as a monitor want to do? The mother's upset, she's crying, what would you do? And you're in the mother's home, and you have to leave. The visitation's over. Are you going to leave, while the mother's crying?
Not in the house.
Oh, they're not in the house?
No, we're family fundamentals.
Yeah.
Okay, so at this point, what do you see as the challenge for you as the family monitor, given what limited information you've already been provided? Bless you.
I would try to encourage the mom, to continue with her supervised visits in hopes that after the courts have gotten the paperwork or whatever, that there could possibly be a change in the future. I wouldn't discourage her from the fact that she can see two at home and one there. I would encourage her to, keep coming, keep being an active participant, because the ultimate goal quite possibly might be reunification. But you can't be reunified if you're not following through the court order sanctions for the visitation.
Right. Okay, great. Any other comments on that?
I have a comment. I would explain my role to her and let her know what I'm capable of doing and what I'm not. I'll listen to her cry and allow her to just, express her feelings. But also make a report of it and let the office know that it would be in the best interest of that mother to be then referred to another agency for possible therapy session, because she could have been affected by the separation?
She's already
Okay.
doing that.
Okay,
What,
excellent.
one thing, you said, well, there are two dads, so she's dealing with two different
Fathers.
fathers.
Yeah.
One might be, okay, we're working this thing out, she can see the kids, and the other one still might have resentment, you know, you're on drugs, I don't want you to have the kid. So she's dealing with two different issues, two different, parenting issues here. Parent, interpersonal relationship with the fathers.
Okay. Thank you. For the sake of time and for your sake, what you've all said are very, very interesting solutions. Vicki, what did you do?
Well, when I came back from bringing the child to the father, she sat down in the chair and she just started crying.
I know, but what did you do?
Okay, so, I mean, I'm just going, so, I just sat and listened to her, you know, and let her cry it out, and she said, this isn't fair, and I said,
Okay, so you listened to
I
her,
listened to her talk, and I heard her cry, and just let it all out.
and what did you tell her?
And I said, well, we will take it week by week, you know, if that's necessary. Whatever's necessary for you to see the child, that's what we'll do. And I just let her talk because she was pretty upset, and I think I wrote that in the, you know, at the end of in the field report. That at the end of it was at the end of the visit that she was crying.
So that's something that, you want to take note of
Yeah.
and put in the field report.
And what I do is, just for purpose of describing, and I initialed her name, you know, whatever it was, whatever it is.
Okay. Vicki, thank you. This has been very interesting. We've not done that before, but I think it's really critical to have a presentation, and I don't mean to cut anybody off, but for the sake of the time that we have, it's really necessary. But notice that we had a problem, okay? And the problem is, you know, is dealing with separation. Rhonda, thank you. Rhonda pointed out that it's further complicated because of there are two fathers, that she's seeing two children on a regular basis. Then she has a third child, the oldest, who she can't see, and she's got to explain her drug situation. And Ruth, you brought up a point which was a very interesting point. Suggest referral to another agency. As family monitors, we cannot make those recommendations. If we do have licensing, therapeutic licensing, we can make that recommendation. But anyone that does not have any license, you cannot say that. What you can say is something a little more guarded, and that is, you know, I'm just wondering if maybe talking to someone, you know, might be helpful to you.
That's
And
what
that's
I
it.
did.
You can't make any more specific referral or recommendation if you're not licensed. But I think that, you know, what Vicki did is beautiful, and it mirrored many of your wonderful comments, and that is that, you know what, let the mom know that there's hope, right?
Right.
And let the mom know that she can cope. Hope and
She's
cope.
gotten that far.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just a matter of time, you know, till,
Yeah, and reinforcing all that positive energy.
Yes, you're reinforcing. And so when you have someone who is so upset, what you're doing is I love that term, you're reinforcing the opportunity, the possibility, and completion, as Dr. Ronda said, completion of that court order. You want to complete that court order because that's what the court's looking at. Did you do as ordered? And if you did as ordered, then boy, then we can move on to another step, and that step might be reunification with the child. So I think that's really excellent. So let's look at the next case. Paula, would you mind doing the next case?
Sure, not a problem.
Okay.
Okay, so I walked into a case after it had been active with Vicki for about 4 or 5 months. I took over the case. A 4-year-old girl, mother had custody, father wanted to get to engage and get reunited and with the child. After 3 hours a week, or 3 hours every other week. And we would take the visitation outside at a park or at a bowling or, you know, or at Family Fundamentals, wherever. But the father had issues. He didn't feel they were issues. Oh, I'm not allowed to say the issues, am I?
He didn't feel like he had
Wait,
issues.
Am I allowed to say?
Well,
It's not-
the point is to
Yeah.
describe.
Okay, so I'll describe it. So, Dad was always bringing toys, bags of toys, candy. They brought food. Grandma and Grandpa always came, you know, made a family affair. He played with that little girl. She was 4 or 5 years old. He played with her just like he was her age. I mean, he kept up with her. However, then, you know, I mean, pants were falling down, no belt.
Now, whose pants were falling down?
Dad.
Dad.
Okay.
You see the crack of his butt. He wouldn't wear a belt when I asked him to wear a belt. This is over the course of different things. Asked no cell phones, so what did he do? He brought iPads. Like more than one, you know, so whatever the situation, whatever I do, he would trump me, so to speak. And then finally, when the last
Don't say what you did.
Okay, yeah. So, okay, all right. So, then one day,
If you want to play the game and stay.
yes, one day, and it was about a year ago, close to a year ago today, the candy, a bunch of candy, nice suckers, lollipops, all kinds of colorful stuff for Easter. All the kids in the park were just so excited. I had me a big old bag of candy, we're giving it to everybody, and the little girl, and me, and where I'm like, whoa, and everybody. But then the Pop Rocks. And Dad's like, hey, to the daughter, have some of these. And I'm like, what are they? You know, and little girl.
Pop rocks?
Pop Rocks.
Pop in your
Rocks.
mouth.
Yeah, and I'm looking, because I know what they are, I like them too, you know, but I'm looking, and the little girl's like, no, I don't want any, I don't like that. And so Dad's like, he's getting real fast and fidgety, and I know something's up. And he doesn't want me to really examine. I said, let me see that. The Pop Rocks, I've never seen them in that kind of packaging. And what did it say? Oral sex Pop Rocks.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the
that.
situation.
That's it, that's the situation.
Okay.
Okay. Family monitors?
Just double that time.
What? What do you do?
There's a lot wrong with this story. A lot wrong with this story.
Okay, one at a time. One at a time. I know it's a highly sensationalized story. You'll read about it in our next book. Samantha, did you want to comment?
Document everything. Take a picture with your phone.
Okay, excellent. What else?
I named that visit at that time, and then in the visit right then, and tell him he can't bring any more candy or anything, that's not allowed.
All right, direct Dad
Yep.
not to bring candy. Okay.
Refer back to the intake form because it should say where he's initialed off on the fact that he does not supposed to have any cell phones, any type of electronic devices. Also, you mentioned that the grandparents that have a big family affair, I don't know if the grandparents are even approved to be a part of the session or not. So that would need to be documented, as well as you have to see if they're even approved to be there. So
Right, document those in attendance. Great. What else? Here's the situation. 4-year-old girl, father sees the child every other week for 3 hours. He brought candy, he brought Pop Rocks. They were in oral sex, wrapping. The daughter said she didn't want it. The father was getting fidgety. What do? You document? Absolutely. You tell Dad not to bring candy? Okay. You refer to the intake form, say no cell phone. And there was grandparents there, and unless they were approved, you do need to document that the grandparents showed up. What else do you
Incident
do?
report?
Oral sex candy. Judy?
I think you should say it's totally inappropriate for him to bring what he just brought.
Critical incident report.
What about?
Yeah, you gotta do this.
What about
What, yeah. So will we do a critical incident report considering that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Critical incident report.
Yeah.
Yes.
Meredith, what's a critical incident report?
When something happens that is definitely, you know, it goes beyond just putting it in the field report, that needs to be specifically addressed. That is so bad that, you know, it needs its own report. You know, that the report is sent to me and then sent to the lawyers to make them aware of the situation that's going on. And then, you know, from there, it will go to the judge. And that is a determining factor in how the rest of the visits are going to go. You know, when they go back to court, you know, are they going to you know, is supervised visitation going to be lifted, or are they going to have to continue on with it, or is supervised, you know, if mom gets that report and decides that the dad is just not fit to be around the child, visits will be canceled. It'll end.
And just to piggyback that a little, like Meredith said, a critical incident report is to highlight something that is really, you know, inappropriate, and it's just like out of the norm. And whether that's a confrontation or the oral sex candy, and the fact that there's been a big problem. But we don't make recommendations. They're shared with the court through the attorneys. If there's representation, if there's no representation, then, or if one party has representation, that party gets the critical report, and so does the other party. In other words, field reports and critical incidents will go first to the attorneys. If there's no attorney representing a party, then it goes directly to the party. And that's just, you know, how it works. If you have representation, at least you know that, well, you know, a party will have that. But any other comment on the solution?
Also include DCF because they're
Only in the
charged
dependence,
of the
only in the
case.
dependency case.
Oh, I see, okay.
Yeah. And by the way, 70% of our business, I believe, 70% is family court. 30% is dependency court. Dependency court is foster care children, children in temporary custody of grandparents. But family court, when you have parents that are fighting and the judge says, you know what, in spite of the allegations, in spite of what I hear, there's going to be supervised visitation. And family court is the predominant of what we find. And so, but yeah, if DCF is involved through a CBC, a case management company, which they call it community-based care. If it's another agency, then the agency supervisor, case manager will get those reports also. Now, Paula, how was it handled?
Okay, so immediately I made him give me the packaging, even though he tried to get rid of it and ball it up and put it in his pocket. I explained that there will be no more of this type of packaging, and that, you know, here we are with a bunch of kids around and his daughter and the grandparents, and we're out at the park. So I didn't make a big scene out of it. I took the bag of candy, I wrapped it up, I put it away. I took the wrapper, I put it in my bag. I kept my little personal bag with it. I made a couple little tiny notes where he noticed that I did that, and then we resumed. I told him that we would have to talk about this when the visitation ended. I did not end the visitation. We resumed. But then before visitation was completely done, well, it was done, I let the little girl go back to mom. I did tell him, I said, this is totally inappropriate. I have to report it, and I'm going to turn it into the Toby Center. This is going to be a critical incident report. It's not anything that I can just let slide, because I've let a lot of little things go by. Like the bringing of the extra iPads when I say no phones. You know, just anything I said, he was a rebel, gonna rebel against it. And then I wrote up my reports, I sent everything over, I called Meredith, I called Dr. Mark, and we decided at this point it was time to end all visitation and let the parent know, the other parent know, the mother. And that's how we handled it.
In this case,
Do you know if there was a history of sexual abuse or sexual abuse allegations?
There was allegations.
Oh.
And plus, he was very, he was wanting to impose his lifestyle. And that's what the mother told me in the beginning, which you can't believe everything, you know, you have to do, like you said. Mother says in the beginning, he's trying to inject his lifestyle in her life and she's just a child. I couldn't see that, but I didn't disregard it either. 6 months later into it, well, 5 months into it, 6 months later though, it's exactly what happened because he was bisexual. He did text me pictures of his body
Oh, wow.
and things of that
Really?
nature.
Wow.
Yeah.
He had a lot of critical incident reports.
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
a lot. And, you know, he said it was an accident, he swore it was an accident. So I kind of let that slide, but I did share it and I did write it in the
You're very
critical
nice.
incident report.
I don't know about that one.
Well, you gotta think, there's not a lot of high education there.
Mhm.
You know, we were talking about the grandparents are alcoholics, allegedly, but, you know, they come there hungover. You know, but they're allowed to be there.
There
You know,
was
there's just a
the
lot
the
of,
father
Pictures, I don't know.
abused sexually as a child as well.
there was an allegation.
Yeah.
Allegations of that too.
Did you not feel uncomfortable, like continuing the session after he sent pictures of his genitals?
Oh, he did, it was his butt. No, it wasn't his.
Okay.
Which, I know, yeah, he put on a mini dress,
Okay.
a mini skirt and bent over and flashed me, basically.
Wow.
And he said that he said the reason he acted that way here was what he said. He said, I don't want my daughter to be a pompous ass. And I said, she's a child.
Mhm.
You know,
So he's really kind
you
of
know,
sexual.
yeah, so that's when we knew.
He
there
has,
was an
he
issue.
has had a lot of issues.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
and you know, Paula, in this case, what my impressions had been is that, you know, Paula is really very compassionate and she feels for the child and really wants the relationship to work. She said, or as I recall, you know, she really felt that the father loved the child, but the father unfortunately had a very poor, a very, you know, aberrant upbringing, sexually aberrant upbringing. That was a norm in their family. Now, if that's a norm, again, that's how you see the world. And anything other than that is abnormal. So, and so much, Paula had said, you know, let's give this guy a chance because his love is stronger than his insanity. But he needed, when we couldn't recommend it, but he definitely needed therapy, you know. And, but we could no longer permit it. I'm gonna let staff be flashed, this is crazy. And that the potential for more attacks, emotional and there wasn't any rape, but God forbid, we had to call a spade a spade. We had to axe it right then and there. And he contacted us 3 or 4 weeks ago. Paula, did you know that?
You did share that with me.
Oh, I did.
Yeah, and I called the mother, and I told her that, and we heard from the father, and we are just not going to permit continuing a visitation. And I don't doubt the father's desire to see his daughter and have a relationship with her, but I'm just afraid of what that relationship might be, even under our watch, God forbid. So we have to know when to stop. So I'm so happy that you shared that with us. But hey, isn't this a great process?
Yes.
You know, thank you. I'm so excited about it. And,
We have time for one more.
Not after that.
and now I'm going to ask Judy if she would, if you would care to,
I would have ended.
present a problem similarly.
Okay, I had one prepared, but you said I should do the other one, but we've
I
discussed
did
so
not.
much about
I did not.
lateness and everything, that I think I know what I should do. I mean, I shouldn't close my eyes
Oh,
to
it's
chronic
not- it's-
lateness as a problem,
Oh.
even though it was overreacted to at one time, and
Well-
I didn't want to repeat that.
Why don't you, and we were
Want me to
speaking in some generalities, and I don't think everyone really got the
Okay.
the
I'll
gestalt
tell-
of it.
Okay.
So, and don't say what you did,
Okay.
but describe up until that point, and so we can identify what the problem might be,
Okay.
and then pose solutions for it, and then you tell us the
Okay.
real truth.
This is a case I'm currently working with of a 26-year-old mother and a 3-year-old daughter. The daughter is with the mother's mother, her grandmother, and the grandmother has a terrible relationship with the daughter, who's the person that visits with her daughter, because she was a drug addict. She was not, capable of managing her life or her child. And so for the past year and a half, she's been under the care of the DCF in Montana, where she originally was. And so the case is weird because it's being supervised by this person in Montana, and there are terrible miscommunications because of the lack of, return calls or received emails or garbled, faxes and so forth. So it's always tedious. The 26-year-old mom is a great parent. The visits go beautifully. The only problem is that she's late.
Oh, don't say what the problems are.
Consistently.
Don't, just describe.
She's late.
Don't say it's a
Comes
problem.
late.
No, you
It
can't
is a
supposed to say that.
It's not a problem.
No, you're not.
Well, the problem
yes.
is that, why can't I say the problem? That's why I'm doing this.
Yeah, but don't say
She's-
it's a problem. They'll find out. They'll let them
She's
determine what the
been
problem is.
For good reasons, supposedly.
Okay.
She's late.
And the last time was because, well, she was almost an hour late. And she was supposed to be early before the other parent, before the grandmother brought the kid to the visit. And the grandmother got there before she did, so the grandmother was waiting as long as I was, which was just about, 50 minutes before she arrived. And she did not have a car, I found out at the end, because she was waiting for somebody to pick her up. And she had had the car in repair the previous week also. And,
Okay.
so, when she came, I was with the child, and the child was okay. We were in a science center, and the kid was having a wonderful time without her mother. And, so when the mother came, she was glad to see her
How old was
mom.
the daughter?
3.
3.
And so they just played for the rest of the time. And then, the mother left, so I didn't have time to talk to her about this latest incident of being late. And I was already pissed because the grandmother had texted me 3 times during the visit about the fact that, she wasn't there yet, because she sits outside and waits because she doesn't know where to go in West Palm. And so she's just looking for anything. She's
Okay.
always trying to find it.
This is a great setup.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, so now you have a situation where, as you heard Judy say, here's a young mother, 26 years old. She's got a history of drug addiction. She's got a 3-year-old daughter, lived in Montana, relocated fairly recently to
To come live
Florida.
with her mother, and then that didn't work out, so then she moved out.
Right. In Port St. Lucie, in fact, as I recall.
Yeah, right.
She said that there's been poor communication with DCF in Montana.
They're not
Okay,
involved.
That's kind of moot for this scenario, however, because we're looking at, all right, so here's the situation. There's Judy with the grandmother, right? The grandmother might be in a parking area, but Judy took the child from the grandmother already?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so the grandmother is in the parking lot though, waiting for the daughter to show up.
No, she was just
The daughter
biding
showed
her
up,
time. But the daughter hadn't arrived yet.
and the daughter,
And it isn't moot about the
Well,
DCF, because
well-
they refused to do the case because she was late to a visit and they took off after she had tried to get there for an hour.
but in this scenario, I would argue that it is
Okay.
moot, because we want to look, how do we handle this particular situation? And
Just about
Okay.
50 minutes.
So, let me ask you this, what's the problem? Or what are the problems?
The first problem that I think is that the grandmother's on the property.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't.
Yeah, that's a big problem.
That's
a
one of
big
the reasons
problem,
why
yeah.
she was late the first time, because she saw the mother saw the van of her mother there. and She
Okay.
didn't want to come.
What else?
Daughter being late? The daughter being late? Or not giving any note? Did she let you know that she was
Yeah,
being
she
late?
did. Yeah, she always lets me know that she's
She
late or
But-
what's
had a problem
happening
with
and keeps in
transportation,
touch.
the car was broke or
Yes,
something?
In this case, yes,
And that day, that particular day, there was,
that's her reason this time.
Yeah.
What else?
Leaving the session without A signing off. Leaving the supervised session without signing off.
No, she signed off.
I thought you said she just left and you didn't get to
yes.
talk
she
with her or
spoke
something, like she just
Oh,
leaves.
no, she
Oh,
left at the
okay.
appointed ending of the session, and she had signed out everything.
Oh, okay, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
But I just
Okay.
didn't have a time to talk to her
Just
about
told her,
being
that's
late,
all.
because she
Okay.
came late, and I didn't have a time to talk to her.
Okay,
And
Because
she
she had
left
a-
early,
she had a
like,
cab.
you know,
She had a cab
Gotcha.
to take. I
okay.
guess.
yeah, but
Okay.
she was
Any
still
other
there
prob-
when I left.
Okay,
Is there another problem with grandma texting you to
Yes.
see if her daughter's there yet?
I text 3 times.
Yeah, she texted her
Yeah.
3 times.
Am I gonna have to wait, you know? I
And
have
how
an
long are these
appointment.
sessions? How long because she's an hour late, how long is the entire session?
It ended on time.
but
So
how
she
long
missed
is the
first
session
hour.
supposed to be?
2 hours.
2 hours?
Oh, so she only getting
So
an
she
hour
missed-
visitation,
right.
okay.
What else? Any other problem that you see? Anybody?
It's consistent.
Pardon me?
It's consistent.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
Okay,
Is grandmother
so,
consistently waiting in the parking lot?
Well, yes.
Has she done it every time?
She didn't the first time,
Okay.
but she did all the times we've been at the Science Center.
So it's time to change
She comes
that.
from St. Lucie to West Palm, and she doesn't know what to do, so she crochets and does emailing
Time
and
to have-
Craig in the car, so.
She just.
Paula?
It's time
Either
to
way,
have
it's-
grandma
she
go
can't do
find
that.
another place.
Yeah.
She shouldn't be sitting in the parking lot, because that's part of the rules anyways at Toby Center.
And you can show her that.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
she
I-
needs to just go
I will
over all
now,
that
that we
with
have the new forms.
any other problems that you might see with this case? Here's a young mother, she's chronically late. The grandmother waits until the mother arrives, and she waits on site. So your points about, recognize that the grandmother was on property, it's not in the rules. In fact, it's against the rules. So she needs to be instructed to leave. And the daughter didn't arrive until an hour later. 1 hour, she lost 1 hour of her 2 hours visitation. That the grandmother was texting all the while until the daughter got there, which might be problematic. It could be pretty
Yeah.
annoying. And I would advise
Well, I
her,
didn't answer after the first one. I said, she's coming, I've heard from her. And then she texted at 11 o'clock on the dot, I have to leave, I have an appointment, is she gonna be out here?
right.
And then
And-
she texted me again to make sure I got the message, and I was walking out, so I didn't answer her.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And look, a custodial parent is right to want to be assured that they can leave and that they're leaving the child with the intention of having, time with the parent. And if the parent's not showing up, then the custodial parent or the guardian is going to say, well, why participate in this if the other parent's not showing, interest? And so here, if this mother is chronically late, what would you do?
In the intake form, it says if they're more than 15 minutes late, the visit's canceled.
And Judy has been extremely generous with this person. What would you do?
So, I mean, I might give them one time to do it, but after that, I'd cancel it, and then that would show, make them be there on time. Or
How many agree with that?
Oh,
I agree.
Yeah.
You
It's
have,
chronically.
yeah, yeah. You have to do that.
Yeah.
You have to do that. When they're chronically late, hey, you know what? There's abuse here, there's something going on, and they're cutting into their time, and unless they request, they say, look, my obligations are such that I really need to reschedule, well then, you can say if the other party would be agreeable to rescheduling, if you have in your schedule. You're not under any obligation to take a case. If you take a case and you find that there cannot be agreement in the times that are convenient for you, you would let Meredith know, she'll reassign it, okay? If on the other hand, the parties are not being agreeable to the times, and we ask for it in our contract, and we also ask when there are attorneys to provide I think we call it a stipulation, Meredith?
A joint stipulation agreement.
A joint stipulation agreement, which does what?
It just outlines the visitation.
There were any amendments, right?
Yeah, that oftentimes is something that we use with attorneys, have the attorney sign on behalf of their clients, or to have the client sign, if one or both don't have attorneys, that they be on the same page. They don't have to use the same document. They can sign the same document, not the same original document, but they can each sign their own stipulation, which has
One
the...
document doesn't have to have the same
Same.
signature on the same page.
Right.
They can sign this copy, they can sign this copy. It says exactly the same thing, just that they both agree to. I use a joint stipulation agreement if the court order is vague. If it doesn't give us exactly the information to follow, like who's going to be paying for what, or how often are the visits, how long they're going to be, is it going to be 5 hours every other Sunday, or is it going to be 1 hour 3 times a week? If the court order is too vague, I get a joint stipulation agreement to give us direction and structure. We don't make these decisions, we don't interpret what the court order meant to say, or the judge said it, but it's not in the court order. It doesn't count. This gives us clarification as to what the parties are looking for the joint, for the supervised visitation.
And this is all, I'm so proud of Meredith, and I'm so grateful to her, because these forms, and this particular form, demands that everyone be on the same page and everyone be accountable. Because it's the accountability that the courts need to see, and by the way, the attorneys want to see, and by the way, it's protecting us and our individual, staff. So it's really critical that they be aware. Now, Judy, I want to ask you in 1 minute what how you have resolved this, or attempted to, or may attempt to.
I haven't resolved it. I probably haven't stopped it early enough so that now it has really, gotten bad. And I felt like, she gave reasons that she was late and did call. And so, I didn't, end the visit. I was really cautious about not repeating what happened with the DCF from St. Lucie, because that's why she was so hostile. And the mother and grandmother have this awful relationship, because the grandmother would just as soon have us cancel the visits and have her net.
The custodial parent.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
And, you know, she's done everything that appears to be necessary, but they keep on adding things to do from Montana.
Well,
And I don't know about
right.
it. So
Well, I think that,
I should have stopped, you know.
but Judy, you know what, bless you,
and
because,
told her about this
because
problem.
here's the point I want to bring up, and I think you know, I've learned from Judy, and I've known Judy a long time, and as many of you have, Judy has an incredible heart. And we need to understand our boundaries, our personal boundaries, our professional boundaries, and the responsibilities that everybody else has. And that also means pushing the attorneys away. And we're going to save that for the next class. There are a number of things I think you're going to find equally exciting given the basics that you've been exposed to today. But these cases, and Judy's case, I think show you that you have every right to expect and demand accountability and obeyance to these rules and regulations which are articulated by the Toby Center, but which come from the state mandate through the bench guidelines. And I am very proud that we have these guidelines, but I'm also proud when we are able to tell our clients that, look, for many reasons, this is really important for you to improve your relationship with your child, demonstrate to the court that you really care, to show that you're deserving of having that relationship and not having supervised visitation. However, there are, as Ed said earlier, consequences, right? There are consequences for everything that we do. Everything that we do. So let's hope, as we speak to the client, let's hope that we can make the changes that are necessary so we can achieve what we want to achieve. I'm here to support you, that's why I use we, okay? And as you speak to the client, tell me what I can do to help you. Ask me what I can do to help you. Because I know what you need to do, and I want to help you achieve that if you do. If you do. There's got to be a buy-in. Ladies and gentlemen, it's nearly 5 o'clock. And that means that the last half hour is going to be devoted to prizes. But the biggest prize, I think, has been to have our experienced staff share with you cases that have been perplexing and challenging, and I think illustrative of what you're going to be running into periodically, hopefully less periodically than others. So let's give everybody a big hand and thank our staff. And I want to thank you all for attending a very important class. You're all deserving of the 8 hours, 4 hours remaining. We have another half hour. If you would, I want to give prizes away, and I want to share some other things with you if that's okay. All right. Thank you.